Well, hello and welcome to AI for Apologetics. And in this video, we're going to be talking about using ChatGPT as kind of an assistant to help you kind of crank out stuff. We've seen how AI can help us learn, practice, and even refine our content. But now we're going to look at how it can help you build resources for ministry. So I'm just going to jump right into it, and we're going to see how I like to teach by doing. So I've just got my ChatGPT interface up here, and let's say that I've got that I usually work on. The problem of evil is one of my specialties, or whatever. I mean, it could be anything, but let's just use that for the sake of the example. And I just lecture on it, and so I just stand up and speak, and there's no Q&A, and there's no discussion or anything. But now I've been asked to teach a youth group, and the format is going to be a short presentation by me and then discussion, or even discussion in the middle of it. What do I do? Well, um, I'm a pretty smart person. I can come up with it probably eventually, but I can also go to chat and say, create 15 discussion questions for a youth group on the problem of evil, and it will give us, it categorizes them, says, personal reflection, explore big questions, scripture engagement, practical application, hope, and perspective. And so, I don't have to take these just right away, just verbatim and just regurgitate them, but they give me something to work with now. It's kind of a brainstorming session with your little AI assistant. Um, and these are pretty good questions. Romans 8:28 says God works all things for good. That's not exactly what it says, but how do we balance this promise with the reality of suffering? That's a pretty deep question for a youth group. Um, and and it even offers to generate a handout for us. Um, and let's see, how about if say you're doing a See You at the Pole event, and I'm not sure why you would talk about the problem of evil at a See You at the Pole event. Um, But I'll say, how about if I know the audience will be a mix of believers and non-believers? So I'm changing my audience just a little bit. And so with non-believers present, then we want questions to be a little different, right? And so if I'm going to be at an event, like I said, at the CEO of the Pole event at a high school or something, and I know there may be curious people coming by that aren't necessarily believers, but we're going to have some discussion. Well, here we go. I've got some discussion questions that are a little different than for somebody who was raised in church or considers himself a Christian or whatever. So this is something that we can use to help us out. Um, and we of course can adapt them however we want. And so there's some content for you. A 2-column leader's guide. Yeah, let's see that leader's guide. Let's see how that goes. And here we go. Um, this can help us with our prep. Um, this could be responses from a believer and non-believer, and so we will see. um, this will help us prepare for the questions that we may get, so that we're not going in there and when somebody asks us a question, it's the first time we've heard it. We won't be caught off guard. We'll have thought through questions, and then that'll help us to remain calm and not panic, which is always good when you're trying to make the case for Christianity, is to keep calm. So there we go. So that's how you can use it for discussion questions and stuff. And then something else, let's say we're doing a Bible study. Give me one page outline of Romans 1 for a high school Bible study. Well, I'm only used to teaching like grad students at seminary about Romans. Now I got to teach a high school. So how about we'll see what it'll give me there. One page Bible study. It's got so just over Romans 1, it's got the whole big theme, the introduction, the gospel in a sentence. I'm not ashamed of the gospel because the power of God for salvation. If you know that verse, it keeps going. It even gives us discussion questions, talk about God's wrath against sin and takeaway truths. And would you like a student handout version of this? Sure. And here we go. And once again, I wouldn't recommend just grabbing this and going and trying to teach it because really, I think a good part of teaching is that you have to have like really ingested the material and you've taken it in and molded over in your head. You know, you let it sit in the crock pot of your mind. And this is kind of the microwave version, right? And so it's not going to be as you're not going to connect if you just grab something from GPT and throw it out there. But this is a good starting point for you. It's a good thing to to start with, to play with. Um, and now we've even got, you know, all these blanks that we could fill in, and it'll create a printable PDF for us if we want of all this stuff. Um, all right, so there we go. And as always, don't trust ChatGPT to just get everything right. It gave us an outline of Romans. It looked pretty decent to me just in skimming through it, but you're going to want to verify that with other sources that you trust. Um, all right, so we have done um, let's see, what did we do? We did discussion questions, and then we did a Bible study outline for Romans 1. And now let's look at a worldview comparison. This is one of my favorite things to do is, I'll take some idea that I have and I'll see how other worldviews um, consider it or answer it, right? When people say, going back to the problem of evil, why do bad things happen? Well, every worldview has to address that. So let's get a table of all the worldviews and how they would address that, or all the worldviews we want to look at. If you know you're going to be talking to, say, a Jewish audience, then you can use ChatGPT to understand their beliefs and their perspectives better, so that we can speak to them in a way that builds bridges instead of just alienates people. Because that's ultimately what we want to do as Christians, is reach out to other people with hope and truth. So I'm going to say here, if we define worldview as the answer to the questions of origin, meaning, morality, and destiny, there's all sorts of ways to define worldview, but that's one of them: origin, meaning, morality, and destiny. Make a table comparing how each of the top most common worldviews answer these questions. Which there's lots of places you could go to get this information. You could do polling, you could research each one of them, but here we go. We've got these comparisons. It could even be a quick reference guide. I always like to look at morality. Here it's revealed by God, by God's character, and as we learn from the Bible. Atheism, it's relative, based on human reasoning, culture, or survival. And Islam, it's revealed in the Quran and Hadith, and so on. Secular humanism says it's human reason and ethics. Follow your inner self, seek harmony is New Age. Um, so there we go. That's what that's let's see. Yeah, so that's the a table that you could do for I just said worldview, but if you wanted to look at something specific, like sexuality, right, with homosexuality or whatever, I mean that's a current issue that's real hot, or abortion. You could get a table showing the different points, and sometimes you're going to see where some intersect and some don't. So you could find common points where you could actually bridge some gaps there and go, you know what, we agree about some things. And when you agree with people on things, it makes them more likely to listen to you in areas where that you disagree. So that's the worldview comparison. So yeah, I was hoping to make this one a quick one. That's pretty quick. I went fast. Luckily, YouTube and all video players have a slow down button. They also have a speed up button. So feel free to use those. And if you have any questions or comments or whatever, just leave them for me, and I'll get to them in a future video. And as always, thank you so much for coming along on this journey as we look at AI for apologetics.